Awareness in Valorant is a bit different than in other FPSs. There's a bit more to track. Not that much more, but slightly more because of the variety of agents and abilities, and also the fact that we have ultimates. This video will go over some very basic things you can do to increase your awareness. First thing, check your ult orbs at the start of every round and make some observations. You should realize how many orbs you need to ult, because you may get a 2k, or maybe you collect an orb and get 1 kill, and you might be able to use your ult right after. Even in overtime, ulting is certainly possible. A trick I do to help train myself to do this is vocalizing it, sometimes to my teammate, sometimes to myself, depending on the rank situation and who's mauling at the time. But just say, I'm 2 kills off ult at the beginning of the round, and that will hopefully translate to changed behavior down the line. This is important, even if you're a character with a weaker ult, I'd say, almost especially in those cases because of the reduced emphasis on them, causing you to forget about them entirely. Some characters can get up to 4 to 5 ults a half in the best scenarios, but if you aren't using your ult, it's like being maxed out on credits. You're not gaining any ult orbs, so every kill you get, every death or bomb plant is not going to another use of an incredibly useful ability. I challenge you guys to go through a VOD and see how many missed opportunity ults you have. I'm not advocating for you to use your ult instantly in every situation, but identify the earliest useful time you could have used it, and count how many orbs you missed because of it. Add that up over a game and see if it combines for an extra ult. If it does, you definitely could benefit from just making simple observations about your ult economy every start of round. So, second thing, it's the same thing but for the orbs of your opponents. Though I'd almost always say do it before every round, like I said for your orbs, but also before every post plant or retake. It's super critical to know whether Brim has ult or Killjoy has ult or Sova has ult before you start your take, because it changes how you should play. You shouldn't take sight and realize, oh crap, Brim has ult and he's playing all the way in Kansas. You should already be adjusting for the possibilities and also being prepared to do things like insta tapping spike and using mobility to avoid whatever it might be. Knowing Phoenix has ult preps you for reads on what they might do too. I think of the ever beautiful play in the First Strike finals where Drone ults through showers on Bind to do a pinch with Hookah, and Nitro from 100 Thieves is literally prepared already with a flash to completely counter the play, simply because they registered that Drone had ult earlier in the round. There's no thinking involved whatsoever. It's just a reaction because of the observation you make early on. Same thing goes for most agents, really. Killjoy, Sova, Brim, Breach, Raze, all of them. So just do this. At the very least, register in your mind the orb status of the dangerous agents. Sova is 1 kill off ult, calm, at the beginning of the round. That's quick, and it goes a really, really long way. One more example on this subject for those of you who struggle hard against Sova ults and die to them constantly. If you say to yourself at the beginning of the round, Sova has ult, don't get tagged, I guarantee you will die less in situation where Sova ults you, because you'll be more prepared to use a satchel or a dash or whatever your mobility ability is, or simply 80-80 the crap out of it because you already made that observation. Think about the times that this does happen to you, when you get caught unaware by this man saying, nowhere to run. You panic and you forget your movement, or you do it too late, or you scuff it even worse because you weren't prepared. You'll also be more prepared to counter ults if you do these first 2 tips. If you're gold or plat, you guys might be aware of the ult counter possibilities, but I bet you nobody in your rank has ever seen a Sova counter ult a Sova or a Brim counter ulting a Sova. These are things that are possible simply because you make these simple observations, registering your orbs and your opponent's orbs at the start of every round. Okay, enough about ults. I think we've talked enough about ults. Third, refresh the round status constantly. So what I mean by that is making sure you know at all times how many players are up, where your teammates are, how much time is left, which agents are alive, and thus whether smokes are still up or flashes are still possible. This is why I love some really basic simple comps for my teammates, like it's 4v3 or 50 seconds left with no instructions. It's absolutely essential to have this in your head at all times. So whenever a trade happens, refresh the round status in your mind. See where your teammates are, how much time is left, which agents are still alive. It is so incredibly important to be adjusting your play throughout a round based on the status of that round. This is why I also really like when teammates calm Phoenix dead, Jet dead, Lily while they are fighting, because it is actively doing what I have to be averting my eyes to the kill feed or top status bar to get, instead of keeping my eyes directly on my angle. This skill and this skill alone is oftentimes what loses rounds in actual matches. People messing up a plant with a few seconds to go, people rushing to fight because they think they have teammates but they already died. And while yes, these mistakes shouldn't be happening at the pro level, they constantly do. Just imagine how many times they're happening at not a pro level in your games. Try never to think to yourself after a lost round, Man, I thought my teammate was alive, my bad. Or the inverse. I thought I was last alive. Sorry, dude, I would have played with you. Get it right by working on this skill. Fourth thing, communicate the known, but also the unknown. Now, I don't actually mean calming everything you don't know, because that could be everything. But what I mean is not everything has to be concrete information about specific locations of opponents. Information that they aren't B main is just as useful, especially when you're playing for info or shoulder peeking things or playing off of tendencies that you've noticed in earlier rounds. Hey, whoa, they're not playing top mid this round? That's useful information on everyone's front, especially when combined with other information. Listening for and calling that type of information helps you stay informed about the possibilities, and that's why this is related to awareness. Say your team is peeking both A main on ascent and B main, and you make the call, nothing mid, and then your teammate calls 4A. Guess what that signals to your B player to be careful of? That's right, a B backstab, but they can cross spawn through mid without any fear. This helps immensely with your map control and with what you can get away with in terms of timing and speed, but also ensuring you don't get caught unaware by certain possibilities. I probably could do an entire video about this concept, and I probably will, but you can see how good comms will help your awareness. Okay, fifth thing, call out agents and their ability usage. This sounds very basic, but in Valorant specifically, remember, your opponent's abilities are unique. While a Reyna Lear and Omen Flash might achieve the same thing with varying degrees of power, you can specifically figure out what they have left. Reyna only has 2 Lears. Omen only has 1 Flash. If your teammate calls out Omen Flashed, you know that you can play around that, and you don't have to play an angle to play against his paranoia. Now, compare that to CS where everybody has 2 flashes, and if a teammate calls 2 flashes B tunnels, there's not really that much you can learn from because everybody has the same kit. It could be that one person used 2 flashes, or it could be that 2 people have 1 flash now. Plus the non-unique models, and yeah, it's impossible. The cool thing about tracking this stuff is that it helps not only your awareness, but your teammates. I want people to know when heading into a clutch exactly how many flashes Phoenix has left. I want people to know how many smokes Brimstone can still put down, or if he still has Molly, or how long until the Omen has a smoke back up again. Imagine the things you can skip doing on both sides if you know exactly the time they have no Mollies left. It's unbelievable. Now, I've suggested communicating as a way to fix awareness in most of these cases because that's just the way I like fixing things in a attack FPS game like this, because more often than not, it helps so many people, but eventually you and your potential teammates will be doing these things inactively, and that's where you want to get to, where in your own head you're putting these things together without actively thinking about looking at the match bar. You're just doing it. That's the goal, and it's definitely reachable if you take it in bite-sized things like this, making up random, harmless, but useful habits. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked that video, please like, subscribe, and do all the things on my social media, and we'll be back with more content just like this. Peace.